Stace and Barry in the morning, Stace and Barry in the morning, Stace and Barry in the morning. Two nerds on a podcast, hosting power. Hey, hi everyone. Barry's gone totally silent, which means he was obviously completely blown away by the best intro I've ever done.
I was gonna go, he is the world's most awesome, and then I couldn't think of what would come after it, so I just went really silent whilst I was trying to think of it.
Well, I will tell you this, and this is going to ruin the illusion of that intro somewhat.
Okay.
Earlier today, I realised that our podcast title fit perfectly into the Turtles theme tune. And so I spent a longer time than I would care to admit trying to write the entire theme tune just about the podcast. And it was very hard, and very little of it rhymed, and a lot of it was terrible. So I just went with that small good part.
You're going to have to send me what you've written, and then I'll have to try and rework it like Andrew Lloyd Webber style.
Well, I was trying to go down the route of because technically you're the reason I got into podcasting. So you're the splinter to my Donatello kind of thing. So I was trying to be like,
I'm basically
taught her
right
to be a podcast queen and stuff like this. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you it later, but
Yeah,
you're not allowed
send me
to
it later. I'll work on it.
Okay, but you're not allowed to laugh at me.
I won't.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It's like you've never listened to any of the intros I used to do on Geek Syndicate before I ran out of ideas for intros.
I did. I was there for a few of them, and
yes, you were.
They're spectacular, mate. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, we haven't introduced ourselves. I'm Stace. That's Barry. This is Stace and Barry in the Morning, the geeky early morning podcast where we tell you about some nerdy shit what we've read or done or seen lately. That's
we get real over a bagel. That's what we do.
Yeah, man. Oh no! Do you know what? I like a scrambled egg on a bagel for breakfast. Anyway, shall we just roll the fuck on and do a segment?
See, I was going to go Transformers roll out, but I was going to replace Transformers with something else, and I couldn't think what it is. I am being shit today.
To be fair, I did spring the sort of 80s cartoon thing on you. So, you've had no time to prepare. I had a full, day to prepare, and I still only got a chorus. So
I've got it.
Go on.
Podcasters, roll out.
Excellent. Job done. Here's a trumpet.
Much better in my head.
Pick of the fortnight. That's what we're doing first. I've decided.
Okay.
I've talked a lot though, so I'm gonna hand over the microphone to you, podcasting sensei.
Okay. So my pick of the fortnight is quite a weird one for me, because when I started this particular season, I watched the first episode. Well, I watched 45 minutes of the first episode, and I thought, yeah, this is rubbish. I'm not going to watch this anymore. Oh. You know, I keep committing myself sometimes to shows, and then I kind of stick with them, and I'm like, why am I still watching this show? Smallville. But this one, I kind of stuck with it, and I think I'm about 7-8 episodes into a 10-episode season, and this is probably my favourite season so far of this show.
Ooh.
So I will tell you the show. The show is The Umbrella Academy.
Oh, okay.
And this is the latest season, season 3. Apparently there's only one, they're doing one more season and that's it.
Yeah.
And I really struggled with the second season for varying reasons. So I kind of went into season 3 with a bit of a, let's just see how we get on. And I think the first episode was so wacky, so out there, especially one particular sequence that I just thought, this might be too wacky for me.
Yeah.
But I kind of got past that, and then I was in, and I've been really, really enjoying it. And it has probably one of the best lines about a villain that I've heard in many a year.
Go on.
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but I will spoil it now. But someone says in it, what do you call? I think it's something like, what do you call a superhero who makes his own decisions and doesn't listen to anyone? A villain.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I just kind of sat. He probably said it in a different way, and it's probably maybe a bit more, but he just said it, and I kind of just sat there, and I was like, you know what, dude's got a point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying this season.
I'm not going to do that thing where I go, oh, maybe I'll give it a whirl, because I watched the first 3 episodes of the first season and noped right on out of it. So.
Well, the thing is, if you haven't, and also as well, I do think there's this thing sometimes where when people know about stuff, and then other people sort of go, no, you need to give it, go back to it, and then I'm kind of like, no, I'm kind of like, if something hasn't worked for you and you've ducked out of it, then fair play to you. Do you know what I mean?
I know my own mind, and my
Exactly.
mind was not interested.
Yeah.
I don't think it helped either, though, that I didn't really like the comics that it was based on either. So it was one of those ones where I was like, I'll give it a whirl, because what if it makes the comics good? But then I was like, oh no, it is just the comics.
Yeah. I mean, on the flip side, I could say, and when I'm talking about noping out of things, I have watched the new Turtles movie.
Oh yeah, did you nope out of it? Oh no.
I kind of did.
Oh no. Oh, that's really sad.
I enjoyed it. No, that's okay. I'll clarify it. I enjoyed it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think my problem was that my benchmark for Ninja Turtles now is Batman and the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And
that was very good.
And I kind of think that anything else, if you're not hitting that kind of benchmark, and by that I mean in terms of the style and the kind of way the Turtles are and that sort of stuff, then it's a bit of a different struggle for me.
Yeah. The Rise Turtles are very different to any other turtles.
Yeah.
That have ever been. And if you don't jive with that straight away, then I don't think it's for you, which is fine.
Exactly. And I was just using that to, as I said, I had fun with it. It's not like I was sitting there going, fucking Stace.
What does this bitch know about anything?
YA order. No, it wasn't like that. But I sat here, I watched it, I enjoyed it, and I was like, okay. The bit that I think you were talking about, that bit was gold dust. That bit was money. And a part of me thought, shit, they've gone there.
Well, do you know what? I thought that as well, because Rise of the TMNT has not been renewed for another season or for another movie as yet.
Right.
And so I was like, have they just gone, well, if we're not going to do any more, fuck it.
I thought that was epic.
Ballsy as fuck, man.
So yeah, it was the bits I did like where it kind of elevated it. But yeah, it was just it was a fun romp, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Like, I think it helps when you're as rabid about turtles as I am.
Yeah.
She says, currently sitting by a pile of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 action figures that I've got to buy shelves to put on that are all turtles related.
Well, a lot of people despise Indiana Jones 4, whereas I still really enjoy it because it's Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. So it's a similar sort of. Do you know what I mean? You could pretty much put Harrison Ford in an Indiana Jones outfit, eating cereal for like half an hour. And I'd be like, that was great.
That bit where it looked like he might choke on a Cheerio.
Yeah, legend.
But Umbrella Academy Series 3 is good then, yeah?
Yes, it is. Yes, as you were. Over to you.
Excellent. Over to me. Well, I watched a little film called Nope, and that is my pick of the fortnight. Because it's really fucking good. Now, I am a person who has been lambasted on the internet for not thinking that the sun shines out of Jordan Peele's arsehole, because I thought Get Out was good, but it wasn't how everybody built it up to be like, this is going to change the face of horror and it's fucking the best film ever made. All of the films can just stop it. And then everybody said the same thing about Us, which I was like, that's also a good film. Has a terrible ending that really lets it down, though. But you're not allowed to say that on the internet because people are like, oh, you arsehole, these are the best films ever. So I go on.
No, you finish and I'll come back to.
I was just going to say, I went into Nope sort of thinking this will be good. I thought this will be good. I'm not expecting to get my pants blown off. Like how amazing it is, and I'm not expecting to come out of it and be like, well, that's the worst thing I ever fucking saw, because as much as I like I said, I don't even rag on the other films. I think they're both good. I just don't think they're like put on a pedestal great the way that like everybody else seems to. But this, like, holy shit snacks, man.
Really?
So I was very tense throughout, which is very rare for me, because even though I watch like a lot of horror movies, I'm actually scared by very few. And like this film, there's like a B plot that I don't want to spoil because it's very weird and I don't fully understand why it's there. And I'm sure somebody with like a media studies degree will come at me to tell me exactly why that plot is there. But that side plot is almost as scary as the aliens, which is the A plot. But I think what it does brilliantly is, so yeah, it's set on this like horse training sort of farm where Daniel Kaluuya is like training horses for use in like films and TV and stuff. And so there's not actually like a whacking great cast. And despite the fact that it's like quite a secluded sort of, like out in the sticks kind of bit of America where there's not that many people, somehow it's still utterly terrifying that this like alien thing is just swooping around and like gathering people and things up. It's just sort of nightmarish. And the alien thing itself might be one of the most amazing things I've ever looked at. Because at first, I mean, I don't really want to spoil it, but at first it just looks weird. And then towards
don't say any more then.
Yeah, well, towards the end, it just like it gets insane, and you're just looking at it like, who designed this? Because it's fucking amazing to look at. But I think it's the first alien film I've ever seen that, aside from like obviously Alien, where I've like genuinely been like, I don't like this and I'm unsettled.
Right.
So yeah, I thought it was Keke Palmer is absolutely amazing in it. Keith David's in it briefly, and he's like, I mean, he's in it for such a short time, and yet still somehow fucking demands your attention. Like, I love that guy. What a phenomenal actor, man. So yeah, like I high recommend from me, like really high recommend from me.
So would you put this in the horror genre then?
Yes, I would. I mean, I suppose it depends on your definition of horror, because like it's definitely scary, and if that's your benchmark for horror, then yeah, it is. I would say like it's. Signs, the movie Signs,
yes,
which isn't particularly good, but it has a couple of like fairly tense moments.
Yeah,
it's sort of like that level of tense, but pretty much all the way through.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah, it's rough, man. We were watching it, and I was like, I'm so unsettled. I just felt like slightly uncomfortable the entire time, and I was like, oh no, this is like. Yeah, the first horror for like a while where I've genuinely felt like, I don't know if I really want to watch the rest, but I've got to. Like, yeah, it's spooky, man.
So, one, okay, I'll put that on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Two, circling back around to, I'm going to pick Get Out, not necessarily Us, because I think Us is a bit different.
The ending let that down, but go on.
But I think with Get Out, it was a similar thing where I watched it much later. You know what I'm like?
Sure.
I'm not really, when everything gets really hyped, I kind of nope out. See what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
And so I must have watched it. You must have rented it like randomly and then watched it. I definitely think that there is, I almost think you have to give it 2 ratings, because there's a rating as a white viewer and there's a rating as a black viewer.
Yeah.
And as a black viewer, that film is terrifying.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, I imagine it hits real different. I imagine like it hits similarly to how films about like women getting stalked and murders hit for me.
Yeah.
And
the thing is, right, there's a lot of stuff in there where I've been in those situations.
Mm.
I've been in those situations, and there's like a kind of, I'm going to let you in on a secret, which you may or may not know, but it's this certainly in this country, there's this unspoken thing. If you go into like anywhere, and you're probably the only black person there. Maybe there's another black person there. In a particular situation, you'll give them the nod. And basically, it's just acknowledging the fact that there's another black person there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bit when he does that, and then it all goes a bit sort of tits up in the film. And I was like, I totally get that bit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just that sense of unease. And I've been in that situation so many times. Obviously, it hasn't turned out quite like Get Out has. But, you know, your mind starts to do all those sorts of things, and it goes to those sort of places. So I think what's brilliant about it was that actually he took you to those places, you know, your kind of worst fears. So actually, I still didn't necessarily enjoy it as more. Enjoy maybe is the wrong way to put it, but I definitely didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as all of the hype around it. But I definitely do think it works on 2 levels. I still think those levels you can get if you're not black. I'm not saying you can't understand it and get those levels, but the difference between understanding it and experiencing it.
Yeah, and it actually sort of touching a real, genuine, like, nerve within you.
Yeah.
Or an experience that you've had. It's like, this is a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous comparison given the the subject matter, but it's like the difference between me watching, like, a slasher movie that I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a bit scary because there's a guy with a knife, and me watching Arachnophobia because I'm terrified of spiders. Yes. Like, that hits very different to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's a terrifying movie and I never want to see it again, please and thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous comparison, but there we go.
No, but it's not correct.
But yeah, Nope is fucking brilliant, and like everyone in it is bringing their A game as well. Like Daniel Kaluuya's great, Keke Palmer's great, Stephen Yeun's in it, and he's wonderful as well.
Cool.
Yeah, just thumbs up all round. Shall I do some toots?
Do some toots. Toot it.
Jazz. Now, do you want to do a book corner because you've been trying to do it for 3 episodes?
I'm going to do a book corner, but I'm going to keep it brief. I'm going to keep it brief for the main reason that the book I'm going to recommend is written by an author who is a friend of mine. We've become friends over the years. So, you know, I don't want to be accused of nepotism. So I want to say straight out, this is an author that I know. The author is James Barclay. Mm-hmm. And his book is The Queen's Assassin. And it's fantasy. Now, to read the blurb, Naida is living a lie, a peerless battlefield surgeon, a talisman for the army, a symbol of hope in an impossible grinding war, a fraud. Society, led by the Queen, has long held that the Esselroad people and their abilities are inherently irredeemably evil, a truth which Naida has been brought up to believe. But as one of them, feeling compelled to use her powers again and again to heal those on the brink of death, it's hard to accept. It's even harder to live a lie conflicted about a hidden identity when the truth could save lives. Taken from the battlefield where she thrives to a court where her life hangs more precariously in the balance, Naida is about to learn that there are even greater secrets and conspiracies afoot, and that a dangerous truth could change the course of a nation.
Ooh.
So I loved it. You know, again, I'll say James is you know, a friend of mine, but we became friends because I was a massive fan of his work, and I emailed him out of the blue, just like I said many years ago, and he replied, which was quite surprising. And I was in the middle of writing Fallen Heroes at the time, and we kind of just kept the communication going over the years. But what I loved about this is it's fantasy, but it's not like your classic swords and sorcery type stuff. Mm-hmm. It felt more like a kind of conspiracy thriller. Okay. With a lot of kind of political intrigue and stuff like that. Because obviously it starts on the battlefields with her, because she's this kind of badass battlefield surgeon that's kind of like a hero of the people. But behind the scenes, she's actually in hiding. And I don't want to say too much, but she's kind of in hiding. And if people find out who she is, then basically everyone's going to hate her before they kill her. But then she gets, you know, as the blurb says, she then gets basically taken into court. So she's kind of like she becomes like the Queen's personal physician, so she's right at the heart of everything. So it's never more dangerous for her. So basically, any foot wrong that she puts is game over for her. And as she's trying to do all this, she uncovers this kind of grand sort of conspiracy and stuff. And it's really interesting because there were a lot of parallels to what was going on with the pandemic.
Okay.
But what James has said, he kind of says it at the end, or there was like an author's note to say when you'd actually written the first draft of this, where like all the characters and the events were in place, it was just before the pandemic kicked off. So there's a lot of kind of real world parallels, a lot of like political bouncing back and forth and shitty government behaviour. And it was great, and it was well written. It was really emotive, and it's just, I can't recommend it enough, really. And I think it's always difficult, for an author to kind of change tack in terms of the sort of stories that they write. And I've got to applaud James for doing that with this, because, like I said, it's still fantasy, but it is kind of out of his comfort zone as well. And I think it's a storming read.
Nice. I might add that to the old wish list, because every March my charity that I work for does a bookworm challenge where you have to read as many books as you can in a month and get sponsored to do so. And I do it every year in a bid to like try and barrel through as much as my to-do list, to read list as I can.
Right.
And because I've done it for the past 3 years, I'm now at a point where I actually need more books. So yes, I'm very much in the market for book recommendations at the moment. So that might end up on the old wish list. And it's almost my birthday, so somebody might actually buy it. Woo!
You're welcome.
Cool. Right, one more trumpets.
Hit it.
Musical musings. I'm gonna pick something that I'm genuinely surprised that I haven't picked before, because it's one of my favourite bits of score. And I do wonder whether the reason I hadn't picked it is because I feel like I picked too many Hans Zimmer tracks. But but he's a fucking master, so...
I never have too much Zimmer.
I was going to say, it had to happen eventually that I'd pick another Hans Zimmer track. This is a piece of music called Red Warrior, and it is from The Last Samurai soundtrack.
Ooh.
Yeah, so The Last Samurai is a movie that I remember enjoying when it came out in 2003, and then subsequently saw again about a year ago, and I was like, oh no, this is very white saviour, isn't it? It's like, oh, which one of us is the best samurai? All of these trained samurai, or me, Tom Cruise? I was like, oh no, I feel uncomfortable.
Never look back, Stace.
Yeah, I should have just left that one in the old rose-tinted nostalgia glasses time, shouldn't I? But oh well. But at least the score was still phenomenal, so it had that going for it. Although there is a piece of music in the film that's not on the soundtrack, which is very irritating because it's really good. But anyway, so the piece I chose is called Red Warrior. It's very sort of like buildy-uppy. So it starts like quite sort of almost like peaceful and tranquil, and then it sort of builds a bit melancholy-ish, and then like right towards the end it kicks into all these like sort of, what's the way to even describe it, kind of like fighty, grunty, shouty with all these like swelling strings. It's very sort of like it's one of those like pieces of music where, when something builds up and then that crescendo hits and all of your you just get goosebumps and all the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's one of them. It's very good.
Yeah, I've listened to this. I haven't listened to that soundtrack in quite a while, actually, but I do remember really enjoying it. And I did really enjoy the film. I won't be going back to watch it.
Yeah, don't look like I watch it.
Yeah, it's probably quite a few films that kind of fall into that kind of uncomfortable category now.
Yeah.
But nice. That's a good pick. I'm torn about my pick. I was going to pick a track from Conan that I can't believe I hadn't picked. And I was all set to go with it, and then something happened this week.
Oh.
And what happened this week was John Williams, the magnificent bastard, decided to just drop into one of his concerts that he was doing the first piece of music from Indiana Jones 5, which is it's called Helena's theme, and this is going to be for the character which is being played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Which he describes actually as being an adventurous femme fatale, and apparently it's lost their mind because everyone thinks that she's now going to take over from Indiana Jones. But I'm just, I could give a fuck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just calm down, everyone.
Because she's clearly not going to be Indiana Jones, is she? You know, she's clearly going to be Helena. So,
no, at the end of the movie is actually her going to change her name to Indiana Jones by default.
Probably, yeah. Probably because Helena's like Henry, so maybe she'll turn out to be his daughter. Ooh. Anyway, like I said, I don't care. The theme's magnificent.
It is. And it really is.
What I love about it is it has. See, the more that I think about that idea of her being his daughter, because obviously his real name is Henry Jones Jr. But what I love about the theme is very reminiscent of Marion's theme from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Ooh, you could be her mum. But the way, if you know the full Indiana Jones theme as well as I do, because I might have listened to it a few times, you have the Indiana Jones march, and then that kind of goes into Marion's theme, and then it comes out the other end and builds to the crescendo of the Indiana Jones theme again. When you could literally take Helena's theme and slot it in there.
Yeah.
You can, if you listen, you can almost see where it would sort of slightly go quiet for the dun 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 dun. So I kind of feel like she probably will be quite a major player in it. I'm all for that because like I said, I thought it was a wicked piece of music.
Yeah, me too. What I absolutely loved about that piece of music is how it was like the epitome of our friendship, because you tagged me in it on Facebook at roughly the same time I was tweeting it at you. I was like, oh, Paige and Barry Nugent, and you're like, Stace, look at this.
Like, Stace must know of this. Stace will understand, even if no one else does.
Oh, yeah. I'd like John Williams, man. He just can't. I feel like even if he phoned it in, it'd still be amazing.
I know. I know.
Like, how is anyone that good at anything?
I just don't think it's in him to phone it in.
No, but I still think like his phoning it in would be some of the other people's like best.
Yeah, I know.
Like it's just that good. Like, how do you be that good at literally anything ever? Yeah. Teach me the ways, John Williams.
Again, John Williams, magnificent bastard.
Magnificent bastard. What a wonderful note to end an episode on. Hey, if you've got any book recommendations for me, or examples of John Williams being a magnificent bastard, you can do us a tweet at Geek Syndicate and at Stacey's Parlour. You can also email staceandbarry@gmail.com or shout into the void. Maybe we'll hear you. Don't really know how the void works.
Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Odds are we probably won't.
Yeah, odds are we probably won't. Oh, Barry, I meant to mention to you that new Rick and Morty has started, in case you weren't aware.
I wasn't aware at all.
First episode was last weekend.
Okay. On what channel?
It's on Comedy Central, but they're showing it at the same time as the US now, so it's on at 4 a.m. over here. So set a series link, yeah?
Yeah. Will do.
Yeah, do it. Right, everyone. That's the end of that chapter, she says, throwing her scarf over her shoulder and sailing away into the night. Bye.
Bye, all.